On today's show, we're going salmon fishing on Lake Michigan, one of the greatest fishing stories ever told, and you're invited. Just set your alarm for 3 a.m.
It's one of my favorites.
Here we go. Read a special session.
He's one of the most powerful leaders in Minnesota, and he wants us to clean up our water down on the farm. We'll chat one-on-one with Governor Mark Dayton coming up.
Yeah, we're really fortunate to live our lives here, huh?
Our Minnesota Bound Classic this week is a nature lesson about a bird we all know, the blue jay. It's a mouthy bird, but it's not really blue. Those stories and more next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's Select GMC dealers.
Hi, everybody. Raven and I welcome you to the show. You know, one of the greatest fishing stories of our time has been the introduction of salmon into Lake Michigan. Well, we went back last summer to find out if that story is still going on. And guess what? Fish on. It's been said the charm of fishing is about the pursuit of what is elusive but attainable. In other words, fishing is a perpetual series of occasions for hope.
Dipsy, dipsy, line.
When you hear that reel screaming like that, that's a good sign. For 14-year-old Brody Lake of Ramsey, Minnesota, hope is on board a charter boat named Relax 7 as she trolls this morning on a quiet Lake Michigan. Now Brody here, he's never had a fish like this. I mean, king salmon are just awesome fighters.
Keep winding, keep winding. He's there. Now you're getting close.
King salmon, a fish of the Pacific Ocean, Lake Michigan, one of the Great Lakes. Oh my, yes. Stocking salmon in Lake Michigan in 1966 ranks as one of the greatest fishing stories ever told. Credit goes to Dr. Howard Tanner, at the time Michigan's fisheries chief. A half-century later, Tanner's idea and the story and the salmon keep on a-going.
There we go, nice one.
Hey.
Good job. Nice smile.
This time, hope wins out. And Captain Scott Osborne's fishing business, RV Charters in Algoma, Wisconsin, keeps trolling along.
I first started fishing Lake Michigan when I was 7 years old. I've been running a boat now for the last 18 years and been on charter boats for 21. First off, I really enjoy fishing, and I've always had a good time watching other people catch fish too. You know, part of the enjoyment is seeing, you know, some kids that haven't caught a salmon catch a big salmon on the boat and get all excited, and that's a lot of what keeps us going.
Keeps us going? Let's go back to the beginning of this fishing adventure in the quaint lakeside community of Algoma, Wisconsin, located straight east of Green Bay. Don't let the town's serenity fool you.
You know, Algoma's got beaches. We have, there's a lot of shops in town. We've got the oldest running winery in Wisconsin.
Yes, but Algoma's fishing scene really starts hopping from mid-May to mid-October at an ungodly hour.
Morning, Ron.
Good morning.
How are we doing today?
Well, we'll find out. And Soren, nice to see you again. Fish gonna bite today?
I sure think they are.
Our fishing team, daughters Simone and Laura, along with Brody 14 and grandson Jake 12, climbed promptly on board at 3:30 a.m. as requested by Captain Osborne.
Well, we're headed north of Algoma. It's about 5 to 4. We got to get out there and get our lines in before the sun starts coming up.
In the darkness before dawn, Captain Osborne and First Mate Soren Pape readied the rods and reels to do combat with one of the strongest fish in the sea.
Here we go. Oh, that's a lake trout.
Lake trout. Good eating.
Well, we had 3 bites and we got 2 of them. A nice king and a nice lake trout.
The morning bite becomes a race against sunrise. We'll keep fishing as long as the fish keep biting, of course. And grandson Jake was up to bat.
I'm a lefty. I'm a lefty player.
Nice fish, buddy.
Thanks.
First rainbow trout?
Yep.
Huh? Here, get a picture of Grandpa and Jake. Awesome. Eventually, the bite slowed down and the day grew brighter. Not that I really noticed.
I can feel it.
When we return, we'll continue our salmon fishing adventure on Lake Michigan, a trip worth losing a little sleep over.
Oh, I've got a sore arm, I'll say that. This guy was way out there.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota Select GMC dealers. Kingtail Gator. Borderview Lodge. And by Jesse Treble's Safe Basements of Minnesota.
Time now to return to Lake Michigan and see if the salmon are still biting. And if you have to yawn, that's okay. If you thought starting a Lake Michigan salmon fishing trip at 3:30 a.m. is, well, insanity, you'd be wrong. Washington Irving once said, "There is certainly something in angling that tends to produce a serenity of the mind." And he was right. So what's the best reason for trolling baits long before dawn? Well, the best reason is the fish bite, even 2 at a time.
Oh, another one. Hey, give it.
We get another one? Oh boy.
Come on, there's another one on.
I can feel it. Oh, this one's a fighter. Oh, now we're fighting. Whoa. Lost him.
Oh, fish off, Jake. No problem. Hey, Laura, what's on your line?
Oh, I've got a sore arm, I'll say that. This guy was way out there. Yeah, you need some muscle power for that. Smoked trout, here we come.
Next, grandson Jake joins the battle. That for 50 years has made not Milwaukee famous, but Lake Michigan.
Hey, you did it. Somebody's out of breath over here. It's a good fight.
Then it's Simone's turn. Your fish is in Michigan.
Yeah, I think so.
It was a small one.
So big, but it was way out there.
Now Brody. Hang on, Brody. And hey, Laura, you're up.
Woo! It's one of my favorites.
Here we go.
Suddenly, a salmon circus was on board.
Keep reeling, keep reeling. Want some help with the rod? Are you good?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Got it?
This, as they say, is what it's all about.
Good day on the water.
But sunrise waits for no one. Finally, the team insisted it was my turn.
Yes, sir, the power that they have is just unbelievable. That's why they call him the king, I do believe.
Got him. Nice.
Oh,
king.
you!
Yeah, beauty.
As usual, I catch the biggest fish of the trip. See the black lining in the mouth here? That's the classic identification for a king or Chinook salmon.
Isaac Walton once noted that as no man is born an artist, so no man is born an angler. I would add only this. On Lake Michigan, it's those anglers born to rise before dawn who are born to have all the luck, if you stay awake.
The water quality in Minnesota is alarming.
Coming up, a one-on-one chat with Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton, the state's fighter for clean water.
Closed captioning from Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut.
Welcome back. A couple of years ago, Governor Dayton announced a pheasant summit to see if we could figure out what happened to pheasants. That followed the governor's recommendation to put on buffer strips in Minnesota. Well, what is our governor up to now involving the environment or water? We sat down and had a chat. Minnesota's 40th governor is not easily defined. Born a Minnesota rich kid, a graduate of Yale, a career politician with a famous last name, Governor Mark Brant Dayton may go down in Minnesota history as the governor who began the restoration of ringneck pheasants and who called on state farmers to clean up polluted water draining from their fields into Minnesota's lakes and streams. Is that your legacy, Governor?
Well, I hope it's one of them. The water quality in Minnesota is alarming in some areas, and it's getting worse, and it will continue to get worse unless we make it better. And there are a variety of causes, and it's not just in the agriculture part of the state. There are problems in other areas, including the metropolitan area, White Bear Lake and others. So, it's a complex problem, but it's one that we really need to, start working on right away, because it's only going to get worse unless we make it better.
In many ways, Minnesota's water resources are connected to the decline of Minnesota's pheasant population. In this case, the pheasant is akin to the canary in a coal mine. Disappearing grassland led to disappearing pheasants, which resulted in more soil erosion and more water runoff from fields laced with farm chemicals.
Well, I kind of backed into it because the Pheasant Summit really last December, a year ago, made me aware of some of these problems in terms of water quality and the runoff into our lakes and rivers and streams. So, got into it further. And then the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency came out with a report last spring, which said that a whole bunch of rivers and streams in southwestern Minnesota were unusable. That it couldn't support fish, couldn't support wildlife. It was, unsafe for people to swim in, drink from.
The governor quickly discovered that support for clean water is not the same as motherhood and apple pie.
And I'm disappointed that some of the organizations have taken that position, some legislators have taken that position, because, as you say, Ron, we all want clean water, we all have a huge stake in it.
But wanting clean water and paying to clean it up are two different things.
Well, James Madison said, if men were angels, government would not be necessary. And there are a whole lot of farmers that are voluntarily leading the way in terms of better conservation practices. But again, the facts show Overwhelmingly the bottom line in our groundwater is more contaminated. It's getting worse and it'll continue to get worse. You know, I'm not trying to blame anybody. I want everybody to become part of the solution, but that's going to take everybody recognizing that they have a responsibility.
Speaking of troubled waters, I asked the governor for his views about Mille Lacs and its walleye problem.
Well, I'm very alarmed. The greatest natural walleye factory in the world, and now it's in serious deficit. We've seen that with other lakes, Red Lake, Leech Lake, where the state stepped in, take very strong action, restocking and taking other measures, and it's the walleyes have come back. So we need to do that for Mille Lacs because so many livelihoods up there depend upon it. And it's Minnesota. You know, when somebody in Minnesota is in crisis, that's where they need to be able to rely on government to step in and do everything it possibly can to remedy that situation.
Does that mean our 40th governor may be remembered for a three-legged legacy? Pheasants, clean water, and walleyes?
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have lived our lives here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our Minnesota Bound Classic this week is about a backyard bird most of us know and hear, the life and times of the blue jay. Stay with us.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Running Aces Casino and Racetrack, Tracker Boats, and by Totem Resorts.
Time now for another bird story. If you haven't guessed it by now, I like birds, okay? This one is one everybody knows, the life and times of the blue jay. If there's such a bird as a loudmouth, or a bird with poor table manners, or a birdie bad reputation, this bird of a feather has them all.
There's your blue jay. Look straight up. You'll see him sitting on the branch. He's getting nervous already. He wants that peanut feeder. Oh.
Naturalist and wildlife photographer Stan Tequila has clicked his shutter on lots of birds. Most of them, well-behaved, nice birds.
The yellow ones are American goldfinch. And the red ones are house finches. Ah, there's the hairy woodpecker.
Blue jays, on the other hand, have a reputation as troublemakers.
A lot of people don't like blue jays because they think that they're out taking bird eggs, other birds' eggs, or other birds' babies and things like that. While that may be a very small part of their diet, other birds do that too. And I'm not sure why the blue jays are singled out for being, that's a bad activity. You know, and in nature, really, it's not, how could it possibly be bad? In nature, that's how it is. I mean, it's survival, and that's what they do.
But remember, a blue jay is also somebody's mother.
Both parents take turn sitting on the eggs and sitting on the babies, and they'll brood these young. And this is an activity that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, that the parents will actually just sit on the young and keep them warm, keep them protected from the sun or keep them protected from the rain. They'll stay in the nest about 2 weeks to maybe 17 days or so, feeding, and they feed them a very high diet in insects. So with all those insects, they have a lot of protein, and that protein allows them to grow very quickly.
As Willie might sing, don't let your cardinals grow up to be blue jays. But nature is nature, not a song, not a court. So let us not judge the bird by some avian tort. Sometimes we are mistaken. I'll give you a clue. A blue jay has feathers, but they're not really blue. Blue jays may be loudmouths, trouble on a twig, but they're smart and they're pretty. Traits we can dig. Just remember, a blue jay has a maker, one that we share. What if we were sitting in the treetops while the blue jay enjoyed a chair? You know, I'll never forget when I was first told that blue jays really aren't blue. Think about that.
Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors, show him a blue jay. I'm Ron Sherrill, and of course, always the star of the show is Raven. Yes.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. For more information on these stories and more, catch us on the web at mnbound.com.